Hi everybody, welcome to this lovely hatha session we're going to do today. Now we are going to want to have some props for our practice. The first part's going to be super yummy and relaxing, and if you do want to do this in 3 sections, so you can just do the beginning or you can do the middle bit where it's a little bit more fiery, a little bit more flow-like, or you can just do the end where there's a couple of restorative or more gentle poses. So if you have fascia balls, this is your moment to get the fascia balls. You'll also possibly want the trigger ball, and they come generally speaking in this set. And if you need to find a link for buying these, they are on my website, so you can find the link for the Pain Care Clinic. These are a beautiful set of fascia balls. I love them. You'll also want to have either a bolster or a larger pillow for the end of the practice as well. And a cushion, so something a little bit smaller than, or a bit thinner than the bolster. It can be a blanket or a towel. And if you don't have fascia balls, it's absolutely fine. A rolled up towel or blanket works just as well, and I will demonstrate and guide you through that through the session if you don't have fascia balls. But we will also potentially want a rolled up towel or blanket for the end of the practice as well. Lots of props, I know, but it'll be a really fun session, and I look forward to meeting you on the mat in just a moment. Today, we are going to start the practice in a joyful lying down position, taking either your rolled up towel, which I've made quite compacted, so it's up to you the height that you're going to use this with, and we can play around with that intensity. Now, don't forget, trigger ball is going to go off to the side, but we are going to use that in a moment. And if you're working with fascia balls, the fascia balls are going to stay in the bag for the first pose. Just come and lie down on your back for a moment, neutralise the spine a little bit, and take a nice moment just to feel the back. Now we are working today into glutes, hips, hamstrings a little bit maybe. We're working this kind of area today of releasing, engaging. We're going to play with some movement. We're also going to work a bit into our balancing skills. So really having that awareness of using these muscles, not just to open up the hips, not just to engage the legs, but also to stabilize ourselves as we're balancing and as we're moving around. And one thing we forget is that actually sometimes we want to relax the tension first before we then energize. And we also might need to calm down our nervous systems. We're going to need a little bit of fluctuation. So when we think about movement, we often think, okay, movement is that kind of active part of us, and then the relaxation is that soft part of us. But we sometimes can't relax unless we've exerted energy, and then we can actually balance the nervous system out. So when we're thinking about, oh, I'm really tired, but I'm gonna go for that run, people often tell me, you're nuts, you're gonna go for a run even though you're already tired. I'm like, yeah, I need to burn off that excess energy, adrenaline that's going through my body. I know the difference between when I feel really fatigued and need to rest, and when I'm kind of like tired, but I know I need to burn off that energy before I relax. So we kind of come up and down. So we'll have a little bit of that today. We'll start off nice and gentle-ish, and then we'll go for a nice flow that will involve activation and movement, and then we will peacefully come into some more restorative postures. So if you're working with the fascia balls, lift the hips up, and we're going to place the fascia balls into the sacrum. Now the sacrum is lower than you might think. You've got your tailbone right at the end, and then you have the sacral bone that's fused together. It's roughly either 3 to 5 bones that are fused together before we come to the curvature of the lower back. So if you're bringing the fascia balls up into the back and your bum is on the floor, you've gone too high, you'll feel the kind of pressure releasing around the SI joint. That's a really nice space to work into. And for today, keep your feet grounded. So we're keeping the feet solidly grounded into the floor and just doing nothing. We're doing nothing. We're going to lounge here for a good 2 minutes. How joyful. Now, if you're working with the rolled up towel, obviously you don't get the same pressure going either side of the sacrum, but it can still feel really nice to have the towel or blanket just easing off this area, and it feels lovely. Arms can go where they're comfortable. For some reason, mine just want to come and tuck into the pelvis, and just allow the body to soften here for a few minutes. No necessary pressure needed, so no added pushing or forcing or squeezing or clenching. Just a moment to go, what's releasing in my body? What does that feel like? Taking the time to explore the sensations You might welcome in a nice slow, steady breathing. You might find that actually it's really nice to be here and not having to do anything for a moment. We do an awful lot, don't we? We spend a lot of time doing, so it's a nice place just to come and be for a moment. Final about 20 seconds, so a couple rounds of breathing. Now, very gently, we're going to lift the hips up and remove the fascia balls or the rolled up towel and drop the back into the floor. And you might want a bit of movement. And if you are taking that movement, just assess what's happening in the glute hip area. Just notice what you're feeling. Because we're gonna make the glutes become invisible. We're gonna try and get rid of our glutes. So if you're working with a fascia ball, take a fascia ball out of the bag. You only need one. So you don't need both. This one needs a little bit extra air, so I'm going to put that one back in. And you're also going to want to have your trigger ball if you're working with trigger balls. So that can be somewhere relatively close. I'm going to show you how to do this with the fascia ball first, and I'll come back to the towel. So I'm going to go left side first because that's the way I'm facing. So you can do any side, it doesn't matter. So my left ankle is going to come over my right thigh into a figure 4 position. And then I'm going to roll slightly over to the right side. Now we're working the left fleshy bit of the glute. So you've got your sit bone, you've got the kind of sacral area, you've got your hip bone here. We want to go into the fleshy part. So we're going to place the fascia ball and then we're going to roll onto it. And you're going to find a spot that you're like, oh, that's nice. And you're going to wait. It doesn't have to be a painful area. It might be a little bit painful, but it's going to be a space that feels quite nice to release, yeah? And if you're not quite there, roll back off and roll back on. Sometimes we kind of lift and lower, and I don't feel it's as effective for me. It might work better for you, but I prefer rolling off and then rolling on. It's just how I like to do it. Now, if you're working with the towel, the rolled up towel, depending on how much effort or how much pressure you want, again, just slide the towel in and roll on. And it's a little bit less intense. I'm using one edge, but it still feels really nice. And again, you can roll and shift the towel into a different space and roll on. There's a little bit more squidginess with the towel, but it's still really lovely. So you're practicing either way. I'm going to use the fascia ball because I'm going to tell you fascia balls are amazing if you haven't got them. I highly recommend them. I'm on them like every single night, which is probably why mine are slightly deflated. And we're here for 2 minutes, so just enough time to soften into the fascia, the connective tissue a little bit, to feel a bit of sensation. We're not necessarily going to create massive changes in the glutes forever by doing this, but we might feel a little bit of release, a little bit of softening of this area, especially if we've been overactive in this space or we have a lot of tension in this particular part of the body or discomfort. This can feel quite nice to open up before we then do some movement and some strengthening. Last little bit of time here. Just taking the moment to breathe. How nice, I'm letting you guys start your practice today in a very gentle, lovely way. You can thank me later when you're lying in Shavasana going, actually, it was really nice at the beginning. Couple more breaths here. Just notice if the sensation has started to change. So if you're feeling any kind of shifting or moving without actually moving and shifting yourself. And then we're going to roll back off the fascia ball and just prop the fascia ball over to the side. If you're working with a towel, again, keep the towel close, or if you're working with the trigger ball, you can grab the trigger ball. But firstly, just windscreen wipe the knees side to side, and hopefully your left butt cheek, or whichever one you were working, has magically disappeared. If you're like, oh my God, yeah. It's just a fun little thing that I like to explore. No butt cheek on this side. Now we're going to come into a TFL release. Now your TFL, you can lie on your back, And palpate the top part of the crest of the pelvis, so of the hips. So you can feel this kind of ridgy bit at the top of your hips, either side. We're going to go for the left side here. Now, behind that is your TFL. Now, if you go too far, you're going to come over to your sacrum. And if you go too far down, you're going to hit your greater trochanter, that big hip bone at the side, too far. So we want to stay behind the hip bone. And it's going to be that little, you can palpate it and go, oh yeah, it's a little bit tender in there. 4 major muscles of the glutes, max, glute medius, glute minimus, but also the TFL. So this is a nice bit of fascia that then connects to the IT band. And if our glutes are underactive, what can happen is the TFL can take over. Bad TFL. We don't want the TFL to do all the work. So we're going to try and open it and expand it a little bit. So this is the fun bit. If you're working with a trigger ball, you can do this as a fascia ball, and I'll show you how to do it with the towel. So you want to find the spot first. So make sure you're not on the bone, that's going to feel weird, and you're not too far round towards the sacrum. So find that little spot at the edge, and if you just press in, you'll go, oh yeah, there you are. And then roll onto that ball. I drop my front knee down, so the side of the leg I'm working on, and then I lift my back leg up. And you know when you've hit the spot, because you're like, whoa, that's quite strong. Now, if you've gone too far down, you're going to feel it because you're going to hit the greater trochanter. And if you go too far up, you're going to come into the waist. So you don't want to go above the hip bone. It's really just right behind it. And you'll know when you've hit the spot. You'll know. You'll go, okay, I can feel that. It's quite intense at the trigger ball. Now, if you're working with the towel or the rolled up blanket, I make it a little bit less thick so that I can get in. And I use a little corner. And I can come in, press it into that spot, and then lean in. It's the same thing. And actually, this is quite nice. You're making like almost like a fist with the towel, and then just leaning in. It does exactly the same thing pretty much because it's a pressure point, it's a trigger point, rather than actually having to be a specific tool. So if you're ever somewhere in the world and you're like, I don't have my trigger ball, use a little like rolled up towel. Most places we go, we can find towels, or we can find something that we can roll up. Even a sock would work really well here, rolled up and placed into this area. Yeah, we're here for about another minute, so enjoy it. It's like, oh, I love this. I think it feels great. I used to have really overactive left TFL, so the one I'm working right now was really overactive, and I got a lot of pain going down my knee. I got a lot of pain in my lower back. Worked on strengthening my glutes. TFL went, oh, okay, I don't need to be so active anymore. And I'm telling you, I don't get as much pain anymore. So when you realise that the TFL can cause a lot of problems if it's overactive, it's like anything, right? If we're over strong in one part of the body or weak in one part of the body, weaker in one part of the body, something has to stabilise the kind of movement of our bodies. So it's nice to create a little bit of balance in certain areas. We're always going to be asymmetrical. We're always going to have a spot that might be our little weak spot, or a place where we feel less strong or whatever from whatever we do. So don't worry if this is an area you go, yeah, this is where I hold a lot of tension. I'm with you on that. Take one more breath. We're nearly done. And then slowly, gently, rolling back off. And I quite like just to then allow the legs a little bit of movement, so you can circle the hip. So notice how it feels, feel what's going on in the back of the body. So all the way round, and it feels so lovely. It feels free for me in that area. Good, and then we're going to take it to the other side. I'm just going to turn around so I can still see you guys. And then cross the other ankle over the thigh. You're going back to your fascia ball or your rolled up towel. Roll over to the left side, depending on what leg you're doing, and then roll onto the fleshy part of the buttock, and we allow it to soften. Oh yeah. And again, you might notice one side feels a little bit more intense than the other. You might need to reposition the towel or the fascia ball if you're noticing there's an area that feels either too intense or an area that you're like, oh no, I want to work there. So having a little explore. Oh yeah, that's the spot. And really thinking here, it's not about it necessarily being the most painful space, but just checking in with the sensations, feeling the sensations as you're relaxing the body in. So the more we soften and weight the body in, the more we're going to feel. It's like having a massage. but a gentler one. Like, it's still pressurable. Is that a word? It's still hard pressure. It's still firm because you're using your entire body weight onto this fascia ball or towel, but it's less kind of invasive. It's not like a quick punch. It's a more soft, deep exploration. I don't like massages that feel so intense too quickly. Like, a good sports massage therapist will always go in more slowly. Maybe that's just how I like it, because it triggers my stress response too much if someone goes in too ferociously. And it makes me protective. Whereas this eases in a little bit more slowly, and even though it can be quite intense sensationally, it's also much more accessible intensity. Just keep breathing, just feeling into this part of the body. Enjoy the relaxation part because the movement is coming. And then we'll slowly roll off our fascia ball or towel. And if you're working with the towel, just move off to the side. If you're working with the trigger ball, grab the trigger ball and you can windscreen wipe the knees again. Your other glutes should have disappeared magically. It's like, I have no glutes. My butt's disappeared. You're like, Kate, I worked so hard to find glutes, to have glutes, and then you're now telling me that they're disappearing. I promise you they're still there. Promise. So again, coming back to the center and just palpating to the edge of the hip bone. So you can see or you can feel the bones. We're all designed differently. So you might be able to see it, you might be able to feel it. The hip bone that pokes out at the front, and you want to palpate round to the back of it. So not right at the top. You don't want to palpate the bone. You want to come into the side, just behind it. It should be a little bit tender. You'll be like, oh yeah. And if you go all the way down, you also notice it comes into the IT band. Yeah, there's a strip that goes all the way up into the back behind there. If you go too far around the back, you're going to work into glute medius. We don't want to work necessarily glute medius, so we want to work TFL. And if you go too far, you're going to come into the sacrum, or too far down, you're going to work into the greater trochanter. So we're going right behind that little point, and then we're going to place the ball and roll onto it. Oh, this side for me is intense today. Come up onto the elbow, and then I bend my front knee and I open my top leg. If you're in this right spot, you're going to feel it's like, the only way I can explain it, it's like good pain. It's like, oh yeah, that's really uncomfortably lovely. And I often get a shooting all the way down into the IT band and into the foot. So if you're lucky, you might feel that. Remember, you can use the towel in exactly the same place. You can scrunch up a little bit of towel, place it into that area and lean in. It's going to do the same thing. It might not be quite as intense as a trigger ball because a trigger ball might be a bit firmer, but you will be surprised. It was really nice on the other side. And we're just here for a couple of minutes. If you need less time, take less time. If you're finding it's too intense for your body. And if you're squeezing and tensing, it's not ideal. So you might want to go for the fascia ball, or you might want to go for a rolled up towel, a little bit less intense, tensely rolled up. But if you're like me and you're like a little bit of a sadist and you quite like this, it's like, yeah, this is so good. You've got one more minute. I really like releasing the edges of the hips. It can be quite a strong area of sensational response, I suppose. And we tend to always think of like piriformis muscles as ones we, attack, go really deep inwards, but actually this is a really nice muscle or piece of fascia really, to explore and to work into. And if it doesn't work for your body and the intensity, just change it. Less time is fine. Or if you like more time, just because you can stay here for longer, you can always pause the video and chill out here for longer amounts of time and you're rewatching this. We're nearly there. It can ease off or it can intensify. Depends what's going on. Right, so we're going to roll off really slowly. Just gently coming off that trigger ball. I'm going to place it back in the bag so it doesn't roll off somewhere crazy and I never find it again. And then moving that hip. So give a little bit of movement into the hip area of the right side or the side that you just worked. And maybe just play with both hips, see what's happening. Move the glutes, move the back. I find it feels so nice to have opened up that space around the outer edge. Lots of sensational responses here. Good. Then you might want to hug the knees in to just ease out the lower back. And we'll roll up to a seated position and just move our fascia ball, trigger balls, rolled up towel off to the side because we do not need them no more. So we can roll them off. We'll come back to the towel at the end and come into a tabletop position. You might want to move the spine around, move the hips around. Have a little explore here of the back, the head, and how it's all interconnected. We're not going to do much balancing on the hands. We're going to work the feet a little bit though. So tuck the toes and sit back to the heels. Get a bit of stretch going into your feet because we're going to do some balancing. Yay! Now, if you do need to take a little bit less pressure, you can come up onto the knees. If you want to place something underneath the bum, you can also place maybe a blanket, a pillow, something underneath the bum. You can also place that underneath the knees. We're just here for a little bit of time to stretch out the feet and just try and make sure that little toe that loves to poke out is going to try and come back in. It's going to try. And then bring the tops of the feet back down to the floor and maybe one leg at a time. Now you might sit onto the heels and this is enough of an ankle stretch. Again, if the knees are not feeling that comfortable, you can come up and even lean back to activate those thighs, can feel quite nice. Or if you find this isn't really enough, you can do one leg at a time, stretching out the top of the ankle and then swap, or you can do both. Now both is a little bit more core work, as you can probably feel, stretching out the front of the ankles. Now it's not wrong to sickle the feet. It's not wrong for the toes to come together and you should get a stretch across the top of the ankle. You can try both. You can keep the toes in line with the ankle and lean back and see what's happening there. And you can also sickle the feet, toes together and lean back and see what stretch you're getting there. You're just going to get a different stretch to the top of the ankle. And both are really valid and both are really important where you're going to feel the stretch. I love this stretch. It feels so nice on the ankles. But I think I've got quite tight ankles, really. And it's just nice to... We don't really do this position very often, do we? Well, I don't. So we're going to release the feet, knees back down to the floor, come back into tabletop position and circle the feet, circle the ankles, move the toes. Good. Just waking up the center a little bit, waking up into the glutes. We're going to extend the left leg back and reach the right arm forward. And we're just going to hold this and feel a little bit of stability going down through the knee, through the hand, and keep breathing. Just enjoying a little bit of warming up through the body. Trying to keep the glutes switched on, the arms. We'll revisit this pose technically in a moment from standing. Take another breath. Now pull the knee out to the side and the elbow out to the side, and again we're going to hold it here. As far as it will go, and just hold. Notice the muscles that have had to switch on and breathe. Just checking in with where you're feeling sensation. Holding. One more breath. Closing the knees, release the hand back to the floor, and if there needs to be a bit of a wiggle. Oh, it gets hot quite quick, huh? And we're going to extend the other leg back. So right leg back, left arm forward and hold. Just holding. Thinking of how we can keep that spine in a nice elongated position so it's not overly arched or rounded. And we don't have to lift the legs so high, but we want to use the buttocks and the hamstrings to elevate the leg rather than just dipping into the belly and letting the spine take all of the work. So your core will naturally kind of engage to hold the spine in place. We don't have to actively pull it back so we can't breathe. I want you to still be able to breathe. Let's pull that into cactus with the left arm and the right knee out to the side, and we'll hold. Just noticing how it feels different from where we were before, what muscles have had to kick on to hold the body here. Sensing what it feels like in the supporting body, so the arm on the ground, the leg on the ground, as well as the one extended out to the sides. Take another breath. And then close the knee, drop the hand to the floor, take a little bit of movement. We'll tuck the toes and shift back into downward facing dog, stretching out the backs of the legs, moving the feet around a little bit. Feel your hamstrings active. Notice what there might be happening all the way from the fingertips up to the shoulders, down the spine, into the hips, down the legs and into the toes. And then we'll gently walk the feet to the top of the mat. Take a little dangle space here. And that can be knees bent, knees straight. It's not wrong to straighten the legs. Let's have a little explore of what feels right for you in this position. It can be movement or stillness. And we'll curl up gently, slowly rising up into our mountain pose. We're gonna move. We are gonna move. I laugh, that's so evil. Ha ha ha, we're gonna move. And then I promise you at the end, you have the option of completely relaxing in a much more restorative position. But for now, let's work our legs, our glutes, our hips. Let's get moving. So we're going to start with our breath, just noticing the stability of your breathing. Notice its regular rhythm. It's there just constantly moving. And I know this sounds very un-yogi, but don't think about it too much as we practice. Let it just be that constant driving force underneath, because we're going to want to use our mental brain power for focusing on our balancing. Your breath is going to be there the whole time, I promise. And we can bring a little bits of awareness to it, and then we can just let it do its thing. It's like driving a car. We don't have to be constantly aware of driving a car. You know that moment when you forget you've been driving for 2 minutes or something, and then you realise, oh my God, I'm still driving. I don't remember the last 2 minutes. We can do that with the breath, and we're still going to be fine. So we're going to bring the weight into the left leg and slide the right leg back, and it can be a very gentle warrior 3, so you can have just the toes lifting off the floor. You might want to go for a full-on warrior 3, arms reach forward, leg extends back, or somewhere in between. Holding this pose, we're going to flow through this a little bit quicker the second round, but not too crazy, so don't worry. Take another breath here, inhale. And then delicately, we're going to place the right foot back into a high lunge. Drop the arms down the side of the body, squeezing the legs towards each other, so we're keeping active in the buttocks. Lift the arms up, feel the feet gripping the floor, and reach the arms high. So we're in active lunge position. Feeling your body just having to hold this pose in an engaged way. We're stretching in an active way. One more breath. Now we'll pivot into a Skandasana. So our right knee's going to bend, left foot turns in slightly, and we're going to sink down. Hands can either come to the heart center, or we can reach the right fingers in front of the right knee and twist and lift the left arm up, maybe looking up to the left hand. So you don't have to come all the way down. If you want a little bit more, you can come onto the heel. If you want a little bit less, a little bit more activation, stay with the heel down. And we're feeling into that external rotation happening from the right buttock to keep the right knee in line with the toes. And that arm is there just to help us. We can cue that gentle push into the arm so that we know that the knee is staying open. Now we'll pivot to the back of our mats, keeping the lunge in the right knee and leaning forward. So we're really feeling this right leg now. Yeah, you're really feeling it active, really leaning into it. And you can stay here if this is enough. Or pick up the back left leg, but maintaining a deep lunge in the right knee. Arms can reach either side of the hips and lengthen through to the crown of the head. Oh, I'm going to be a table for a moment. Long from my toes all the way to the crown of the head. Now slowly we're going to straighten the right leg and pull the left leg through. Arms will reach forward, balancing on that right leg. We can stay here. Or crossing the left leg over the right, bending the right knee into a little eagle. You can hook the left foot behind the right if you want to. You can also bring right arm over left, grab the shoulders, Or bring the palms together into the eagle arm position. And then maybe sink a little bit lower. It may be useful to find something to gaze at to help maintain the balance. And I'm telling you now, I'm feeling that buttock on my right side. Hopefully you are too. One more breath. Now unravel the legs, the arms, and we're reaching the left leg back and reaching into our half moon. So it can be small. It doesn't have to be super lifted. If you can, touch the floor with the right fingers and then lift the outer hip up high as you can. So this left leg is going up as high as possible, getting a lovely expansion and engagement of that hip. Really slowly bend the right knee and place the left foot down. We're coming through into warrior two, still technically facing the back of the mat, maybe gazing to the right hand. Feel the legs are switched on, so we're not kind of sinking into this lazy. We're feeling active and strong. Kate, funky move. Now, sometimes I have those moments. Hands can come to the waist. We're turning the right foot towards the right side. So there's a little bit of a movement that's going to happen simultaneously. And then we're going to step into that right foot and grab the left knee. So we're now facing the long edge of the mat. So our left leg is caught in our left hand and we're balancing on the right leg. If you need to see that again, I'll just show you. Whee, catch. If you really fancy it, you can do this with a straight leg, or you can keep the knee bent. If you want a little bit more balance and a little more practice of lifting and engagement of that leg, do it without holding. So you can hold nothing. Just keep the leg lifted and breathe. Now, crossing this left leg all the way over the right, we're going to take a big step as you possibly can, back towards the top of the mat. And we're bending the left knee and straightening the right leg. And if you can, try and keep that right leg as straight as possible. So like a deep curtsy. Arms can go out wide. Thank goodness, because we're now stretching that right leg that's been doing all the balancing. So bring the weight into the left foot and to a circle, semicircle, or like half circle, with that right leg going all the way around. And then we're going to pick it up and place it to the thigh. Figure four. That was evil, wasn't it? Feeling now the left buttock. Hello, left butt cheek. And getting a stretch to our well-worked right buttock. Good, one more breath. Lengthening all the way back up, we just drop the right foot across the left. Left leg is now straight. Right knee is bent, and you can interlace the fingers, maybe leaving the index finger and the thumb pointed, reach the arms up, and take a little side stretch over to the right side. You'll feel the left outer hip get a beautiful stretch, and we're leaning as much as we possibly can. Breathing. Spin all the way back to the top of the mat. Now you can only go one way. Spins to the left, spin, 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 spin. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And step. Left leg up, flex the foot. You can either catch the hands underneath the hamstring, you can catch the calf muscle, the foot, and you can pull in if you fancy a little extra challenge with the balance, if that feels fun. If you're thinking, no, Kate, don't want to do that, just catch the knee. No problem. Or straighten the leg and hold, see what happens. You've always got options with your body. It doesn't have to be today that you hold it out here. You might think today you're feeling a bit tired and you want to take it a little less intensely. Now we're going to do two options, or a variation of you want to make up if you'd like. Option one I'm going to give you is the hardest one. We're going to pike down to the floor from here. Yep, we're going to go to the floor from here. So you can literally just drop all the way down and lift the left leg up. If you're thinking, absolutely no way, bring the feet together, come back down, lower the bum and extend the leg back out. Nice and easy. Now we're opening up the right hip, so let the right hip open. Take the outer edge of the left foot with the right hand and just draw it across towards the right side, feeling that lovely lateral hamstring stretch. Should feel quite nice. Your left hand can come behind you or out to the side. Take a moment to breathe. Then we'll rebend the left knee, bring it back to the center and grab the foot with both hands. If you want a little bit extra play with balance, lean back and float the right foot off the ground. The knee can be bent or straight, but we're externally rotating from the hip. So it's a nice external rotation as we're lengthening up through the spine. Then gently land that right leg if it's elevated or slide it forward. Take back the outer edge of the left foot with the right hand and see if we can straighten it as far forward as we can and twist towards the left side. Yeah, lovely. So a seated Lord of the Dance, still getting that lovely outer edge of the lateral hamstring so you can feel that tug and also a nice little spinal twist. Take one more breath. Planting the left hand behind you and let the left foot go out to the left side. We'll ground the right foot and we're going to lift the hips up, reaching the right arm up to the sky. And this is a little bit fun, a little bit difficult. We'll have a go. So we're going to hop the right leg over the left and onto the mat. So you've got to use your left arm here and come up into a little bit of a curtsy. You can reground the left foot. So now your right butt's like, oh, me again. I've got to switch on again. And then step the left foot back to the mat and come into a goddess. Goddess squat. Deep, nice, strong, active goddess, pushing the thighs open. Then we'll turn back to the top of the mat and step the feet into a chair. Nice deep chair, lengthen through the spine. As we lift all the way up to straight legs, we'll come onto the balls of the feet. Calf muscles will activate. I didn't finish that word. And then slowly lower the heels back down into the ground where we'll find our mountain pose again. We're going to go for the second side. Catch your breath. Extending the left leg back. Warrior 3. Remember, this can stay quite small. You can reach the arms out. You can come into the full variation of Warrior 3. Leveling off the hips as best you can. So if we open the hips, we're in a different pose. It's not a bad pose. It's just a different pose from Warrior 3. So trying to find that Warrior 3 as best as you can and holding. We'll then bend the right knee, place the left foot, drop the arms down. Active lunge. The arms will come down, up to the sky and reaching up as we're pulling, it's like we're pulling everything in and up to the sky. Take another breath. We'll pivot to the left side, Skandasana. So we'll bend the left knee, right leg straightens. You can either just take your hands to the heart center or drop the fingers in front of the toes and reach the right arm up to the sky. Remember, this can be lower, so you want to come onto the heel, you can. Still pushing that knee in line with the middle toe, or you can stay a bit more active. Go where your body kind of decides it wants to today. Lovely. And then turning to the back of your mat, you pivot on the feet and we lean forward. So we're leaning over the thigh. You can stay here. Or perhaps lift that right leg, but a deep bend in the left knee. So we're still encouraging the left leg to be active and bent. Lengthening all the way from the heel or the toes to the crown of the head. As we begin to straighten the left leg, we pull through the right knee, arms come forward and we might hold here. Or we take it to eagle, right leg can cross over left, bending your left knee and maybe hooking the toes behind or keeping them out. Arms can stay out in front or we can wrap around right arm under left or we can take eagle arms all the way into this position here. Where you find your balance, find a drishti point and hold that focus and sink in maybe a little bit deeper. We'll slowly unravel the body, extending the right leg back into our half moon. Remember, it can be small, it doesn't have to be huge. If you are going to bring the hand to the ground, lift up that right leg as high as it will go. So use the outer edge of the hip to pick it up and push into the sky. Good. Soften into your left knee. We're going to land this right leg really slowly, and come into an active, strong Warrior 2 position. Engage Warrior 2. So externally rotating from that left hip, so the left buttock is switched on, Both buttocks are switched on and we're pulling the inner thighs in a little bit to keep it strong and active. Kate's funky move, so hands can come to the waist. Now we're turning the left foot towards the left side and we're stepping into that kind of like a tree variation, but we're not keeping the foot on the leg. So we're just taking it out to the side. You can grab the foot and extend the leg. You might decide just to hold the leg up there without holding the knee. Try and think of the hip, so we're not hoisting the butt up. We're trying to use the hip flexors to lift that leg up as high as it will go, but within the range of our bodies. One more breath. Crossing the right leg as far over as you can. So we've got to kind of trust ourselves here and take a big leap of faith. Step the right foot to the top. Lengthen the outer edge of the left leg. So the left leg is straight, right knee is bent. And we're enjoying this deep lunge. Well, I'm enjoying it. You can feel that butt just switching on. Now we're going to push the weight into the right leg and sweep the left leg as far around as you can. So take a big semicircle all the way around and then pick the foot up and cross it into your figure four, sinking in. Hands can come to the heart center, sink as low as it feels accessible for you. Flex into that left foot, so we're protecting the knee of the left side. We want the rotation to happen from this left hip. Then as we straighten the right leg, we drop the left toes over to the right side. Right leg is straight, left knee is bent. Reach the arms up high and take a little side stretch to the left, kicking the right hip to the right side and go over as far as your body will allow you to go. As we come back to the center, we're going to pivot to the right. We can only go to the right. Pivot all the way back round to the front. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then lift up right leg. Now we can catch hamstring, calf, foot, knee. Maybe having that little fold forward. Notice what it feels like. You ready for the pike? No, Kate. Now you've got the options to pike all the way down or to join the feet and come down. So whichever variation, listen to your knees. If your knees are not really wanting to do this, you can also use a hand to help lower yourself down. So just be careful. The pose isn't really that important. Open up the left knee here. Take the left hand to the outside of the right foot and draw it across the body. So we're keeping the chest forward. The hips are still kind of pointing forward, pulling that leg across. Feels lovely. Then as we bring it back to the center, we can grab the foot with both hands, slightly lean back, and maybe just extend that leg a bit further forward, or we can elevate it off the floor, either externally rotated with a bent knee, or externally rotated with a straight leg. Up to you. As we lower the leg or slide it out in front, we begin to straighten into-ish the right leg, taking the left hand to the outside of the right foot, and twisting to the right. Seated Lord of the Dance. Then place that right hand behind you and let the right leg go out to the side, all the way over. We'll bend the left knee into the ground because we're going to lift the hips up. Little fun pose, so we have to step this left leg all the way over the right and place it back to your mat. And come through a curtsy, so lift up and curtsy. Yes, ma'am. Stepping into goddess, so the right foot comes back to the mat. We come back into a goddess squat, deep lunge. Turning, pivoting to the top of the mat and step into chair. Arms come all the way up to the sides or up to the sky. Sink low, lengthen your spine, and then lifting up onto the balls of feet. Straighten the legs and release. Heels squidge back down into the floor. Take a breath. We'll go for the second side. We're going to extend the right leg back, warrior three. Your version of your warrior three. We'll soften the left knee, place the right foot and come into our high lunge. Arms come down and reach up to the sky. Active. We'll take it to Skandasana, bending the right knee, turning the left toes in, and you can reach the right hand in front of the right toes and twist the left arm up to the sky. We'll pivot to the back of the mat. Arms come either side of the thighs and lean forward. Maybe lifting that left leg, bent knee warrior 3. As we pick the knee up, reach the arms forward, either staying here or taking it into eagle, right arm over left and sinking low. Elbows can come high. Then we open into our half moon. Small half moon, or drop the fingertips down to the floor and lift that left leg up high. Use the outer edge of the hip. Bend the right knee. This is a very gentle drop of the left foot into our warrior 2. Hold the warrior 2. Kate's funky twist, so turn the right foot to the right edge and lift that left knee out to the side, either catching the knee, the foot, or not holding on at all. Left leg crosses all the way in front of the right. And remember, we have to leap of faith this. Big step. Rolling to the outer edge of the right foot. Arms can go out wide. Breathe. We'll push the weight into the left foot and take that semicircle of the right leg, all the way round, up and over and into figure 4. Then we sink a little bit lower. And then dropping the right foot down to the left side, lift the arms up, keep the right knee bent, and then take a side stretch to the right, all the way over. We can only turn to the left. I promise you we can only turn to the left. So keep turning, turning, turning. Right foot grounds, and we catch the left leg wherever we want to catch the leg. Remember your version of pike, it can either hand down, feet together, or slowly drop the bum down, whatever works for your body. Opening the right knee, and we're going to catch the outside of the left foot and pull it across to the right side and twist. Coming back to the center, bend the left knee, both hands catch the foot, lean back, and either extending that leg off the floor or keeping it grounded, straight or bent knee. We then drop the right foot forward, catch the outside of the left foot with the right hand again, and twisted Lord of the Dance. Left hand comes down. Left leg goes out to the side, bend the right knee in and lift the hips. Because we step that right foot over into the center of the mat and come up into a nice little curtsy. Goddess pose. Step the left foot back to the mat. Turn, come into chair. As we come all the way up onto the balls of the feet. And we squidge the heels back down. Last time, last side. Left leg extends back, come into warrior 3. Place the foot down, high lunge, arms go down and up to the sky. Take it to Skandasana, left knee opens and bends, right leg straightens and turns in. Left hand can come in front of the left toes, we twist the right arm high. We turn to the back of the mat, lunging forward, maybe staying here or lifting that right leg up, keeping that lunge in your left knee. We lift up to standing, cross the right leg over the left, cross the left arm over the right, eagle the arms and legs. Unravel, half moon, small or deep so the left fingers can come to the floor. We lift that right leg up nice and high. Bend the left knee to place the right foot into our warrior 2. Hold. Hands can come to the waist. We turn the left foot to the left side. We step into that tree variation, whether you want to catch the knee, the foot, whatever feels good for your body. And then cross that right leg all the way over. Leap of faith. Step it into the floor. Arms can come out wide. Lean forward. Leaning into the right foot, we semicircle that left leg round. Cross it over the right thigh, figure 4. Then dropping the left toes into the ground, straightening the right leg, keep the left knee bent, arms go up. Little side bend to the left, feeling that right side opening up. Spinning, we can only spin to the right, catch the right foot, leg, knee, you can fold in or you can stay lifted. Remember your options, I'll show you on this side, foot together, coming down, and then extending, opening the left knee. Left hand to the outside of the right foot, pull it across the body. Good. Bringing that foot into both hands. Maybe leaning back, extending the left leg, bent knee, straight leg, or we can stay on the floor. And then slide it forward, straighten-ish into the right leg, catch the outside and twist to the right into our seated Lord of the Dance. Right hand comes to the floor. Open the right leg out to the right side and bend the left knee to lift up and step that left foot all the way over the right to the mat and come up into a little curtsy. We open into goddess, right foot comes back to the mat. We turn back to the top of the mat, chair pose, arms come up. Inhale up onto the balls of the feet, squeeze everything in, and then slowly melt back down the heels into the ground. Hopefully your legs feel a little bit wobbly. Mine certainly do. Well done, guys. It was awesome. So I promised you a relaxing ending. Grab your bolster. Bolster's going to go underneath your knees, or a large pillow. Pillow, that confused me then, I said pillow twice, is going to go underneath your chest. And either fascia balls or pillow, rolled up towel or blanket, God, I can't speak now, it's going to go under your head. Now, I'm going to show you with the fascia balls, but you can always use your towel. So the legs, knees are going to go over your support. And we're going to have our smaller cushion that's going to come close towards the bum. We're going to lie back over it. Fascia balls, if you've got the trigger ball in there, just take it out. They're going to go into the curvature of the neck. And if you're working with the rolled up towel, that too is going to go into the curvature of the neck. We're going to lie back, and we're going to open up the chest softly, let the head relax back, and just take a few moments to soften here. No effort is needed. We're just feeling the energy buzzing through the body as we begin to soften in. If you need to make some movements to release any last little bit of tension, you can. And if for any reason this does not feel comfortable on your back and you need to adjust, you can always just take the pillow from underneath the chest out if it feels uncomfortable for you. So please do bear in mind that our bodies are unique and we all have different things that we're coming with to practice. So we may need to make a variety of different adjustments based on what you're arriving with today. Softening in. I'm sure you're sick of hearing my voice. I'm going to give you the next couple of minutes in silence. Now very slowly, wiggle out, wiggle, wiggle, if you can. Coming all the way back up to seated. Place all of the props off to one side. We can come back to them in a moment. But this is that moment where we are going to want to have the rolled up towel or blanket if you would like it. So you can come into a Shavasana without this. This is one of my favourite relaxing things to do for the spine. So I fold the towel or blanket at the short edge, and then I'll fold it again. This is a particularly long blanket, so if you have got a towel that's a bit shorter, that's fine. And then we're going to roll it up a little bit tightly to make like a snake. As tightly as it can be done. And then you want to make sure you've got, this is a very long blanket, it goes the whole length of my mat. If you don't have a towel and it's not that long, it's fine, but it does want to be the whole length of your spine. So drop your sacrum on and check that your entire spine is supported, and so is your head. Back of the skull is supported. And I like the legs to go a little bit wider and the arms to go a bit wider, and we just let go. If this agitates your back in any way, I will give you the cue in a couple of minutes to either make your way into Shavasana. You can avoid this pose completely and start in Shavasana. and not have to come into this, or you can also stay here until the end. Closing down the eyes if that feels nice, and all the support that is needed to hold us up, to move us around, can soften here. The spine is in its neutral plane, supported by the towel, so the muscles can relax. They don't have to work to hold us upright. The legs are wide and they're expansive, and they can soften into the ground like roots, just taking up as much space as they need. Now, if you would like to stay here, by all means, you can. If you would like to take a couple of minutes of Shavasana without the blanket, this is your moment to wiggle out. And come into Shavasana, either using the bolster under the knees, maybe a pillow under the head. Now you can stay here in Shavasana or on the towel or wherever you're positioned for, as long as your body requires to be here. Or if you're ready to come out of this pose, I don't know if I'm ready. I'm not ready. But the time has come that we can wiggle out if it needs to be. If you're still on the towel, you might want to ground the feet and roll off to one side, maybe rounding the spine a little bit. Or you can come through a little Shavasana if that's needed to lengthen the spine. And we can slowly lift the body up to a comfortable seated position, closing off our session together. Inhale to let the arms float up to the sky and let the palms close. Exhaling, the hands will draw down to the heart center. And as you gently allow the head to fall forward, find gratitude for yourself, your practice, your body. Namaste.